This presentation will help you write essay number 1. The length must be between 2 and 4 pages, and the grade for it is a maximum of 100 points. The ungraded rough draft is due Saturday by midnight of week 1. Now, you have to meet that deadline. If you don't waste time writing an email explaining why you couldn't submit it on time. I never review late rough drafts, so just work with the tutors at the writing studio instead. There is a possibility of submitting the final version on time, but there's also a late penalty. It's a 100-point essay, so in week 2, if you miss that deadline and turn it in on Monday instead of Saturday, you would lose 20 points. That would mean if everything was perfect, you would only earn a B minus. So you also want to meet all the avoid all the late penalties for the final versions, even though you can submit a late version on time. Rough drafts are ungraded. There's no points, so you don't miss out on earning points, but just recall that I never review the ungraded rough drafts. Now here's your topic choices. You can do an essay on whether it's better to have an entry-level job that's not in your field or an internship that would be in the field. You could debate owning a dog versus a cat as a pet, different styles of parenting, smartphones versus landline phones in homes, volunteering at one community service opportunity versus another, owning a two-door sedan versus some other vehicle, maybe a motorcycle or an SUV, even a boat if that's how you would get back and forth if you live on an island, working part-time while attending college versus working full-time while in college, teaching elementary school versus middle school or high school, eloping versus having a wedding with many guests, or starting your own business versus working for an employer. Those are your topic choices. If you write about any other topic, I will simply send you a message that perhaps you submitted this for the wrong class. Now here's how you format the first 4 lines. You begin by setting up the entire document for double spacing. And that quite often means you have to change the after paragraph setting from 8 or 10 to 0. You type your name, my name, name of the course, international format for the date, so the day comes before the month and the month comes before the year. Always type it in exactly this way. This is how you do it for MLA and your advanced courses. Now there are some other formatting requirements. As I emphasized in the beginning, you have to stay between 2 and 4 pages. You lose a lot of points if you don't. Now you use a size 12 Times New Roman black font only, and this usually means you have to change the default of Calibri 11. That is much more difficult to read. You don't want to use that font. Double space, as I mentioned before, 1-inch margins on all sides of the page, and indent 1/2 inch for paragraphs. This is controlling the number of words, so that's why it's so important. You center a descriptive and or creative title above the first line of the essay, and don't use any bolding, italics, or quotation marks around your own title. And again, you have that special way of writing the date. Now let's talk about the structure. You begin with a compelling introduction that emphasizes a scholarly main point. It isn't about similarities and differences between things or concepts. It's about a claim that you're making. You also need an introductory technique, and that could be an anecdote, a direct quote, or an intriguing question or startling statement. Those are some common ways of starting the introduction. Then you have your body paragraphs. You break down the topic into logical sections in the middle of the essay. You make your writing original by creating your own examples and ideas to illustrate your topic. And as I emphasized with the introduction, you are developing a significant point about your topic. It could be that it's better to start your own business, or it could be that teaching high school is preferable to teaching elementary school. It could be any claim that you're making, but that's what you write about. You don't say that two things are alike and different, because that's going to be true of almost anything. Instead, you want to make a claim and support it. Now, the conclusion creates the final impression, so it's very important. And again, it comes back to ending with a conclusion that emphasizes a significant point. You might make a recommendation, you might make negative predictions, you could create a circular effect with the introduction. For example, if you started with that anecdote, a brief little story to capture the reader's attention and set up the topic. For example, you may say, be writing about whether someone should elope or have a big wedding. You could create names like Mary and John were thinking of, and they were arguing about. And then in the conclusion, you could come back after you investigate why one would work better than another of these two options. In the end, you could come back and let us know what Mary and John decided. Don't be repetitive in the final paragraph. Don't just restate the introduction or restate what was said in the body paragraphs. You never want to say what you're going to do in the introduction. Do it in the body paragraphs and say a third time what you did in the conclusion. That's way too repetitive for a short essay. Every section should be something different. Now, choosing your words. This is very important. Never use words like I, me, us, we, you, or your. No first and second person pronouns. It's very, very important. It'll lead you into an informal writing style. It'll lead you into writing the wrong content, because in college we don't want to know about your feelings about a topic. We want to know about the topic. You're making a transition to using research to report what the experts think about these ideas. So leave your personal opinions out. Don't say things like in my opinion, or I think, or I believe, or I feel. This is actually all your opinions, thoughts, and beliefs unless you cite a source. So you definitely want to delete those unnecessary words for a more formal writing style. Now, your words should be formal, but they should also be easily understood. The college professor shouldn't have to run to the Oxford English Dictionary to look up a word that you mean. Use words that are common in everyday language, but choose the ones that would be used in a formal presentation, not ones that you use if you're texting on a cell phone. Be concise, make every word count, and use correct grammar and spelling. Proofread, of course, to eliminate the typographical errors. Avoid plagiarism. You are allowed to use one direct quote from one source in the introduction. You can come back to it if you like in the conclusion in a different way. I'll put all assignments through Turnitin.com, and this plagiarism database will detect plagiarism. Typically, you fail the course if you plagiarize. So you just don't want to buy essays, even if the website promises they're not going to resell the essay. What happens is one student buys it and then sells it informally to another student. Then it shows up in the database, because remember, this could be happening anytime, any place in the world. And then that's how it gets in. Even though the database that a student bought from may not be the culprit. They may just be selling essays, but it will appear in that database, and then you fail, and then your name is put into our own database, and we track you all the time you're in college. So you don't want to plagiarize. And final reminders, don't write unnecessary words. Never say what you're going to do in the introduction, do it in the body, and say it a third time in the conclusion. Write it one time and move on, or come back to the concept in a very different way. Stay within 2 to 4 pages, and to avoid failing the class and being followed, tracked during college for plagiarism, make sure you do your own work. Don't plagiarize. Of course, if you have any questions at all, please call me. I'll be glad to help you. Good luck with your first essay.